So welcome, I'm Simon Luckhurst, the editor of Pro AVL magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to today's virtual roundtable on the future of AV in the Middle East. The roundtable event today is held in collaboration with Pro MEA, and I'm thrilled to also be joined by three experienced local AV consultants based in Dubai. So joining us today, we have Ranjit Philip from WME Global. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi.
We have Suresh Kumar from InfoSite. Hello, Suresh.
Hello.
And we have Jasper Whitaker from Innovation. Hello, Jasper. And also joining us on behalf of Pro MEA is Senior Market Development Specialist Gerard Fiallo. Hello, Gerard.
Hello, Simon. Hello, everyone. Thanks for participating in this valuable discussion.
Yes, thank you all for joining us today, taking the time to be with us. I know that you'll be very busy at the moment. So before we start off our discussion, let's have a quick run round of our panelists here. Starting with Renji, if you could briefly tell me a little bit about your role, the company that you work for, and the types of projects that you would typically be involved in.
Yeah, my name is Ranjit Philip. I work for WME Consultants here in Dubai. We have branches in India, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, UK. But all the AV, IT, and security design has been done from India and Dubai offices. Normally, we take care of all segments of the market: hospitality, shopping malls, schools, residential projects, all sectors we normally do. And I'm leading the AV80 team here in Dubai office.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ranjit. Suresh.
Yeah.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Suresh. I'm from InfoSite Consultants. My designation is Executive Director. I've been with InfoSite for almost 10 years now. We are pure AV, IT, security, acoustics design consultants. We are based out of UAE. We don't have any branch offices anywhere. We work from UAE and cater to Middle East and African region. I do have a back of house office in India. So we do some Revit and CAD works from India as well. For projects, primarily 75% of our projects is hospitality. So we are the ones who would take the major hit because of this COVID and post-COVID situation. We do have other projects, but the volume is less. Yeah, not like WME or other consultants. We still have a small share in the corporate sector. We have also done a small hospital. We have done malls. We have done general mixed use development works as well. But yes, 75% was hospitals, and we are few. We would say the approved consultants from Marriott's and Hilton's and Kempinski's and all. So that's how our business came from hospitality. It was not by choice. It was more market driven because the volume of projects was hospitality, and that is how we ended up there. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Brilliant. Thank you, Suresh. And Jasper, also, tell me a bit about innovation. Oh, Jasper,
you're on mute.
Could unmute yourself. Thanks.
Just what we need is an AV technician in the house at this moment. So innovation has been established for 10 years. We are an AV and IT consulting business. Our projects are mainly based in the Middle East region. We do a little bit of work in North Africa, but mainly in the GCC. I've been in this part of the world for coming up for 25 years. The first 15 years were as a contractor in the AV, IT, and generally ELV field. And I drifted across. I moved across to the consulting side 10 years ago when I set up Innovation. And we are obviously involved in the design process and also in the post-contract supervision of projects, ensuring that the specifications are applied, etc. And market segments that we are heavily involved in have been hospitality, I think probably in common with everybody, big market in the Middle East. Education is quite a large market for us, theatre and auditoria. And the reason for that is that in addition to AV and IT, we also get involved in doing rigging, stage lighting, stage machinery, all the other sort of subsystems that are associated with theatre. So it gives us a fairly a good opportunity in that type of project. So theatre based where audio and video are fairly complex as a result. Some corporate markets, some banking, corporate headquarters, that type of project. So that would be our three main areas of business.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your introductions, everybody. Stepping back to the beginning of the lockdown crisis that we've all been going through, it came as a shock to all of us. So, Ranjit, what was that initial period like at WME? Were you prepared for it, for the world of remote working?
No, actually, it was a sudden thing which happened. We were not prepared to this. But all of a sudden, the management decided to take it as a work from home environment and to go with the flow as the government restricts people in the offices. So that's how we started working from home. But now it seems to be it is somewhat regularized. All submissions are being done at time without any issues. So it seems that the management is happy with making working from home more cost-effective designs.
Would you agree with that, Suresh? Unprepared at the beginning, but your company's been very quickly able to adjust to the new environment.
No, it took us some time. First of all, this whole transition was a shock. We were not prepared for it. It took us some time to do our internal assessments and see how, because we always believed that being co-located and working was an efficient way, and hence we were all, in the same office. You have the facility of getting onto the drawing board, getting on the same table, make drawings, make suggestions, make changes, call in people, do all these necessary requirements in the projects. So it was a little difficult for us, but we had an advantage that we used to do a lot of interaction with our India office, which is the back office for us, with our CAD operations. So that way we were somewhat used to sharing content and getting ahead with it. But yes, the COVID thing came as a shock to us, not only from the operations perspective, it was a bigger shock to us from the project's perspective.
And Jasper, would you agree? What's the biggest change that you've witnessed throughout the lockdown period, and how's that changed the way that you're working? Oh, if you could unmute yourself again, please, Jasper.
Sorry, this is the biggest change, I think, is obviously having to deal with these different types of video conferencing environments. So with one client, it's Teams, then it's WebEx, then today it's BlueJeans, and it's something else. So I think getting to grips with these various different systems has been the biggest challenge in inverted commas. But I think apart from perhaps a reduction in efficiency in terms of being able to communicate with colleagues across the table, as Suresh said, I don't think it's been very difficult at all. In fact, I've been quite surprised and quite happy the way it's all evolved. We basically abandoned our office on March the 15th. We have servers accessible to all staff to be able to access files. We're able to share files and have discussions around the table, virtual table as we're doing today, and resolve issues pretty easily. And I think probably it's going to change the way we deal with things going forwards. I would certainly think that with things like clients in Saudi Arabia, where traditionally it's not been particularly easy to, you have to go through a visa application process, and the opportunities perhaps are people are a bit more relaxed and a bit more comfortable in using this type of technology, and the fact that it works very well and it's not expensive. I mean, I remember 35, 40 years ago when video conferencing first evolved, and the cost of video conferencing was absolutely immense. Now it's a free downloadable piece of software for many people, and those people that are buying commercial licenses for this type of product, it's relatively cheap. So I think it's been an interesting transition. I don't think it replaces an office environment, but I think it will change the way we work going forward.
And are you on a day-to-day basis? Are all of your companies generally using consumer communications tools like Teams, Blue Jeans, Skype, or where are you going to when you need to take the production quality of things to the next level? Ranjit?
We do reviews and everything through Teams because we are using Teams. Previously it was Skype, and now as Microsoft changed to Teams, we have subscribed Teams from the beginning itself, and we do internal meetings with Teams. We do share our windows to our colleagues and discuss our drawings or review the drawings on Teams. We do same all the discussion and review through the Teams. So before the drawings are being finalized or the designs are being finalized. So it is good to have a common technology to interact with all the staff company.
Okay, so in a general sense,
the BIM team, they are in Bangalore because some of the projects we are doing in our Bangalore office, so we interact the same way which we are interacting with the Dubai team to the Bangalore staff. So it's the same. It's easier for us to interact on team and get the things done from our team in Bangalore or from our Dubai team.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. So for those people who were a little bit further away geographically, we're suddenly all very familiar with this world of video conferencing now. And you know, for some people, rather than stepping on a plane, having to take large times out of your schedule, travel, we can still work well. But what would you say, Suresh? What do you miss in a video call that can't be replicated?
See, the drawing board where you have when you share the designs and bring in ideas, there's so much of rough work which happens. You know, when you're on a engineers meet, it's not always the fair work which gets translated into a design. There's a lot of rough work and scratching and all this happens. That is one joint conference which we miss. But again, I would agree with Jasper and Ranjit that we have come in terms with what's available now, and we are almost achieving the same efficiency levels that we used to do in office with these conference calls. We have developed a way of logging into the teams daily morning and preparing our schedules for the day, sharing their schedules with our team members, checking on the submissions list that we have, and checking on who is working on what, and have internal discussions on those. So it's more slowly it's getting arranged. Yes, it was a shocker when we started, but now with the technology available, with everybody abreast of these technologies using it, we are trying to achieve the best from these days as well.
And what are the challenges that you're consistently finding using these tools? We all have good internet connections now. We all have access to good video cameras, and most of us should have microphones. But it's not always the case that these things go smoothly.
The only challenge is what Jasper said: working with multiple softwares. I mean, there's so much of them, and a lot of people go on Zoom, there's WebEx, there's Teams, there's Google Meet, there's some people also on Hangouts. So there's GoToMeeting, and there is Collaborate Space. There's so much. So only thing is that we were lucky enough to consolidate our internal meetings on Teams. We do have our external meetings, which we do go with GoToMeeting because we already had a subscription with them. We don't use Teams for external meetings, which we organize. I mean, if somebody else is the organizer, I can attend on any platform. But from our side, we have a company corporate subscription with GoToMeeting, which we use for our external interaction with the clients and other stakeholders.
One obvious impact has been the attendance at meetings with clients and going to site and seeing what's happening, the supervision aspects of it. Obviously, that's changed quite a bit. There's the whole isolation business that was enforced upon us. Even though some projects continue to run. For example, we're working on Expo and there was some reduced labor on site, but in terms of, inspections and having to do work on site, that didn't really change and hasn't really changed. Slowed down, but I think it slowed down as much related to the fact that the project is, extended by another 12 months as opposed to the situation. But I think from the day-to-day point of view, I don't really feel that much has changed. Maybe we work slightly different to others because the design tends to be done by an individual and then checked by somebody else. So it's a verification process that doesn't, yes, there are discussions about, there's always so many different ways of doing things in our trade. But we generally rely on an individual's design, and then if somebody's got something better that they think that they can add or provide to it in terms of, better engineered solution or something that's got a bit more future-proofness to it or something, then there's a bit of collaboration. But that can easily be done, I think, on these formats that we're using now. Yeah. I don't think that if lockdowns are eased in a week's time and everyone can go back to the office, I don't think we're not going to go back to the office. I think definitely we are going to go back to the office. I just think we'll have this in the back of our mind that there's an alternative way of working going forwards.
Yeah. But it's one thing when you're just communicating internally, making sure that everybody knows what they're doing. But it's an entirely different thing when you're trying to present a proposition to a client. You want it's more than just getting the message. It's the whole production around it. So are there other solutions that you look to when it comes to presenting, or let's take large scale collaboration? You need to involve a committee of 20 to 30 people. How's that working?
Well, I have to make a presentation next week to a board of a bank, and it's been suggested that we do it using this medium, and it's 50-50 whether we do that or whether we go along and do a live presentation. And personally, I don't like sticking up a PowerPoint and speaking remotely about it. I'd much rather do a very quick, basic presentation and then have a sort of a Q&A type thing face to face. So that's more of a sort of a getting an idea across, or perhaps in a salesy type role. I don't think anything is going to replace, hopefully in the future, a handshake and a face-to-face meet.
Ranjit, would you agree?
Yeah, that's true actually. But during this situation, we don't have the freedom to go out and meet people and to have face-to-face meetings. But that is the best way to approach the meetings or the presentations. But now we do manage through Teams, and we do present to the board of directors or to the client our designs, and we have design workshops reviewing all the client requirements. They review our drawing and they tell our comments or they tell their suggestions to team, and we are managing those because every week there will be one or the other design workshops held through Teams to comment on the design or to have a weekly meeting, progress meetings. Everything has been done now through Teams only.
Okay, great. So, how has the role of a consultant changed and morphed throughout this? We've talked now about the ways that you're communicating or the way you're going about your job, but how has your actual job changed? Suresh?
I don't think there's a change now. Even from the pre-COVID times and from these days what we are now, our role has not changed. In fact, I would believe that a lot of our responsibilities has increased more, because now we have to explain and convince to more stakeholders than the kind of project teams that we had earlier. And I'm coming back to what Jasper said earlier. The face-to-face meetings are more convenient. In these pre-sales meetings or these meetings where you need an approval from the client or the stakeholders, the space of the meeting is decided by the feelers that you get from the attendees. And the feelers that you get from the attendees when you are face-to-face is much easier. You understand them, what they want, how their interests are they satisfied with your presentation, the way it is going. So you mold the presentation in a way to take it through. So those feelers are a little difficult when you are away and doing a presentation on a Teams call or things like this. But otherwise, I think our role specifically, no, has not changed. No, nothing has changed from a consultant's perspective.
Okay, but are you now finding that you're suddenly having conversations with different types of clients? Are they coming to you people who need to come up with some new idea of transmitting their message or something like this? And are they seeking your expertise?
Simon, if I can make a comment.
Yes, please, Jasper.
Sorry, you all just dropped out there for a second. I hope I'm back. I think one of the things that's going to happen in the future going forward, it's a bit early to tell, is that we may find that things are being even more driven from an IT sector, IT perspective, in the sense that already the conversation in certain types of projects, particularly conference center, meeting rooms, corporate clients, headquarter buildings, this type of thing, the conversation was already being driven by the IT guys. Now that everybody is becoming familiar with web conferencing and video conferencing, and Zoom and WebEx and BlueJeans and all these other things, this is now all in their mind, and this is now what they think. So I think the integration of these types of systems in corporate meeting rooms, as an example, and I'm working on a couple of those types of projects right now, is front and foremost in my clients' minds. And traditionally, that's been a bit of a problem with video conferencing, because video conferencing has often been developed has been delivered as a one single solution. In other words, if you're putting video conferencing in a room, it's for video conferencing and nothing else. Yeah. But we all know that meeting rooms are used for presentation primarily and probably, or historically, and video conferencing secondarily, in my mind, unless it's a very video conferencing or teleconferencing driven company. So I think that our clients are going to be more pushy for AV over IP type solutions that incorporate video conferencing and unified communications, because these are kind of buzzwords. And I think it's going to be our job to ensure that they get that, because that's what they want and what they need, or they think they need. But we also have to deliver the presentation elements and the day-to-day use of a functional meeting space where people want to come in and connect a laptop or sit around and look at a video presentation from a client, something like that, rather than communicating with another office on the other side of the world.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And video conferencing is only one element to the AV, IT, and IP networking kind of sector. Even once lockdown restrictions...
It's getting better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember not so long ago, a year and a half ago, we were working with the university, and they were wishing to implement Zoom video conferencing in every single classroom, which is absolutely fine. But we couldn't leverage some of the facilities of the Zoom video conferencing, for example, using it as a wireless presentation tool, unless you were in a video conference, which meant in order to use that and not buy another piece of hardware, you had to sort of fabricate a video conferencing call in order to use it, which was, in my mind, a short sight of the manufacturer. They were simply thinking about the video conferencing application, and historically, with the 2 or 3 big players that used to be in the video conferencing field 5-10 years ago, we all know who they are. They were absolutely blinkered on the video conferencing thing. They could hardly contemplate anything outside of a video conferencing. Why would anybody want to go to a meeting room if they weren't going to do a video conference? But I think we're over that hill. Things have changed. Things like, I mean, WebEx, I can't remember what they call it now, WebEx Touch, Touch 10 is now designed to integrate with control systems, and it's designed to be used as a presentation tool as well as a video conferencing tool. I think that we're getting closer to a more applied solution with those types of people, and I think that they're probably gonna try and drive that market as manufacturers as well, quite heavily themselves. There's always been this battle of, since AV and IT sort of became closer aligned, there's always been this battle between them. Each company looking for supremacy from the other. Even within the AV industry, control manufacturers making audio equipment, audio manufacturers putting control technology into products. Everybody's trying to find their little sort of unique bit. But I think we're in the era of, because of this last 3 or 4 months, of integrating video conferencing, audio conferencing on certain types of projects into the overall solution. I don't think it'll make a difference on an auditorium project per se. They might want some kind of remote or distance learning or video conferencing capability, but it won't be the driver. There'll be other, obviously, aspects in that type of project. But in the corporate sector, I think that's going to be something we see coming out of the woodwork.
But even from the aspect of maintenance and management, when the lockdowns are restricted, it's likely that we're still going to see social distancing measures continue on for some time. I would presume that remote management, the ability to centralise control and manage a whole university's devices, for instance, without having to physically attend. These are all the kinds of features that clients are suddenly going to be wanting to look for. Suresh.
That's very rightly said. All remote monitoring systems will change, and like what said, everything is going towards the IT. Everything will be on AV over IT and audio over IT, video over IT. But the IT also brings in their own disadvantages. Yeah, I mean, we all know that IT can be hacked. There are bandwidth issues. There are distance limitations for cables. But since we already have a network, yes, that's the way to go. And going ahead, the central management or central controls will be required, and that will be a demand from the client's perspective as well. Instead of individually managing it with smaller segments or huddle rooms or meeting rooms, they will be centrally managed. Yes.
Do you feel that these tools to achieve that already exist in the market, or we need cleverer solutions in order to get to that stage?
There are solutions which are available, but yes, there is a scope of improvement, and there's a scope of consolidating all these requirements into a central one. We have seen this in our designs, the current stage as well. They don't recommend a distributed AV rack in all these rooms. They would prefer to combine it into a floor-wise rack, or preferably if you have a AV control room in the same area, to consolidate together in one area, so that you don't have to have your maintenance guys or configuration guys peeping around in the rooms when there's already somebody attending meetings.
Brilliant, thank you, Suresh. Ranjit, take a step back slightly. The conversations that you've been having with customers, how have they changed? You're still often talking about similar types of projects. So what's different in a conversation now? Is it the uncertainty about what the future landscape will be like, or is it how we achieve things now today?
Nowadays, I think so. All the customers they are cost driven, and they are trying to cut down everything for VE, value engineering exercises. Even if we design a good system, and when it goes to the contractor, automatically the contractor brings to the client a value engineering exercise. They proposes additional things, or they proposes other products and other systems which we are not designed. So the client is now looking for a value engineered, cost-effective solution. So even if we design Mercedes, maybe the contractor will bring a Corolla and tell that this is very cost-effective, and the client is tending towards the cost-effective solutions. That is the main concern which we are finding nowadays in the market. Basically, mainly in the UAE and Middle East market, that is getting widely spread.
Budgets tightening. So this was going to be my next point. Obviously, all three of your companies will have had projects in the works at the time that this situation began, and there have been, I imagine, lots of them have been in limbo ever since. Are you expecting that they'll just be postponed? Will many of these be cancelled, or are they being changed and amended to suit a different environment? Jasper, why don't you start?
Yeah, I think obviously the thing that's always amused me from a point of view of being a consultant, being on the client side of inverted commas, is at least in the design stage, how little interest there is in budgets, or often how little interest there is in budgets. I knew to my pain as a contractor that we were constantly battling down to the last cent to try and re-engineer solutions, let's say in a design build environment rather than something that was consultant driven. We were trying to find the most economical way of doing things, yet ensuring that we didn't get to the the situation that can happen where things are discounted or reduced in design to such an extent that the client actually ends up spending maximum money but not getting what they need, which is the most dangerous situation. I decided when I embarked on this consulting business that the first thing I would do is that I would identify to my client at concept design what I believe that what they told me they wanted was going to cost, so that everybody had in their mind exactly what it would take to spend in order to achieve what they were talking about. And that was based on my knowledge of what contractors needed to make as a margin to run a successful business, what equipment cost them, the varying margins between very low margin items like LED screens to very high margin items like theatrical lighting. And I found as a consultant that the clients have very little interest in that until it comes to the main contractor being appointed, at which point they try and beat them up mercilessly to try and get the price down. I think at this moment in time, in the cycle that we are in the Middle East, forget COVID and all the rest of it, we're in a cycle where prices have been depressed for quite a long time anyway. People are looking for bottom dollar on design costs for consulting fees. It's a bit of a race to the bottom at the moment, and also on project fees. And I think at some point, sooner or later, it'll swing back the other way, as it has done a couple of times in the years that I've been here, where clients suddenly realize, okay, this is not the right approach. What we now need is quality, and we need to pay for that quality, whether it's consulting or whether it's choosing the right contractor or choosing the right design. But the job, I think one of the jobs that we all have is to ensure that the client doesn't push his budget down so low in negotiation, whether it's with a design that we presented or whether they're doing battle with the contractor that's been appointed, to the extent that we know the contractor's not going to be able to deliver the right solution for them, which is a pointless exercise, because we don't want to be there at the end of the job when it's being handed over saying, but you said back then and you didn't want to save this money and this didn't happen. So it's quite a difficult line to walk, to be on the correct side of it.
Presumably now this takes on even more importance, though. If your clients are worried about their own business and their finances in it, they will be looking very carefully at those budgets, whether they're overspending, what can be cut. So is it, for most stuff, is it a case of if a job needs doing, it will continue to get done? But yeah, we might just have to rethink about whether we need this feature, whether we really will use this aspect of a system. Ranjit.
You might be right. Sorry.
Yeah, that's correct, because there are some things which they cannot cut. For example, if it comes to security, they cannot cut any security because there is a rule in Dubai to follow such and such facility. So some of the elements they cannot cut. For IT, maybe they can cut a bit, but they know that AV can be compromised, so they go to AV systems which they can reduce as much as possible and provide a minimum requirement for each meeting rooms or ballrooms. So that's where they're trying to catch most of the cost. And some systems they cannot catch much because of the rules and regulations. But the systems which doesn't have any rules and regulations, they go drastically and cut the budget. That's what's happening nowadays.
But you really haven't experienced any big projects that have, simply got axed straight away as soon as it's happened. There still is a desire to do work that was there before.
Yeah, we did actually, we are in the end of a tendering process for a very confidential project in Abu Dhabi, which is for the whole 7 Emirates, and they have a conferencing facility in between. They had a very hi-fi budget and very hi-fi systems when we designed, but when it came to site, it's barely nothing. They told maybe we'll consider in the next phase, or once the project is over, we'll consider at that time, because they have to cut the budget drastically. It was a project for Crown Prince Court. There also they started cutting AV budget.
Yeah, I do agree. All projects are cost conscious, and they are more cost conscious now during this season. Okay, I have not come across any client coming back to us for a cost reduction after COVID. Yeah, so I'm not going to relate the COVID thing to the current. It's not happened yet. But considering the projects which are going ahead, yes, the project. There are projects which were axed, which was completely stopped after COVID. We got notifications. What I see as a trend is that if there is a 60% or 70% design complete, then they would go ahead and finish the design, but they're not going to start the construction. Yeah, and they would stop the work. And if the design has not started around 30 to 40%, they'll stop the project from there. Of all the projects that is stopped now, I see that as a trend. And coming back to the construction, if the construction has happened and it's the same philosophy of 70 to 80% construction has happened, they will somehow want to finish it. If not the entire project, they'll finish part of the project and do a pre-opening of a phase. But if it is almost at a 50% or less than that stage, that has been put on hold now.
I thought we might just get Reggie into the conversation then, but it's not appeared yet. Jasper, is that the same for you? Your projects, they largely haven't changed from the pre and post COVID world. Oh, you're muted again, Jasper.
Sorry, this is the reason I keep muting it is because I've had some bad experiences with open mics and multiple conversations going on, so I tend to mute it if I'm not speaking. We've had nothing cancelled yet. We've had a couple of things put on delay, but they were delayed before the whole COVID thing really broke out. They were just pushed back 6 months. This is to do with shopping malls, as it happens. I think it's too early to tell what's going to happen. It depends how quickly the Middle East and UAE specifically, I think, bounces back. UAE obviously is so dependent on its tourism and retail and construction and aviation and people coming in and out and all this business. I think that the whole thing happened very quickly, so it might bounce back very quickly.
Yeah, what's your perception that if as lockdowns are lifted, that people will want to travel, will want to go back on holiday and return quickly? Are you expecting the hospitality sector to bounce back quickly in Dubai or to take some time?
I really don't know. I think that's crystal ball gazing a bit. There's been lots of talk about how the hospitality industry are going to really, cut their costs, cut their rates, etc., to attract people. And I think people will want to travel, and I think they will want to come to this part of the world. But I think I still slightly surprised how everybody around the world locked down for this thing. And maybe that's because everybody suddenly became more aware of it. And should the corner be turned sometime soon, then maybe everybody will bounce back just as quick and go back to normal lives. I have friends in this part of the world who lost their job. So people, the local market, people leaving, I think there's going to be an impact. But that's always been a situation in Dubai, for example, where some people have gone and they've been replaced by more people coming in for one reason or another. I think it will probably do all right, and I'm sure that they will come up with some good strategies and tactics to build their hospitality industry. But I think in the short to medium term, is that that's not going to be the best location for business opportunity in the AV field, because I'm sure that a lot of those hotels that were starting to be put up on the drawing board or had been mentioned in press releases are probably not going to take off. There's enough supply. Same with residential. There's an oversupply in the market, and I think they need to correct that. So,
will you, with that in mind, will you be what sectors do you think?
Summary: hospitality will be the loser, I think.
And do you think that there will be a big winner in terms of sectors in this market?
Hard to say.
Put that to Ranjit. Do you see any sector as becoming stronger because of this situation, or do you think it's all about mitigating?
Not really, actually. Maybe hospitals or healthcare sector. Other than that, we don't find anything coming stronger because of this change. Not really. Don't think that any other segment is benefiting from this COVID situation. No.
Okay. But one thing we hear lots about is we're all in this together. We all need to work together, support each other, things like this. So now the three of you are competitors in Dubai. How closely do you liaise with each other? Do you feel like you're an individual entity in this, or are you coming together as an industry to try and identify new new ways of working and new opportunities? Suresh.
See, as of now, we don't mind collaborating with each other to find opportunities. But yes, as we said, we are competitors. No, we are working in individual areas to see and identify which sectors and where to find prospective business. As we said, hospitality is the hardest hit, and yes, we are one of the hardest hit because we had a lot of banking on the hospitality lately. Moving ahead, which sectors can have some impact? And like Ranjit said, yes, the only sector which can be identified is healthcare. Because you need healthcare for a longer duration, and if this pandemic stays, yes, more services, more hospitals, more testing facilities, more vaccination centers, more healthcare workers, and features which can enable them work more efficiently, manage things by maintaining a social distance, and their technology will play a big part, is what I feel for the healthcare. To maintain social distance, review, analyze reports, come up with prescriptions, online transfer of prescriptions to medical centers, all that might be a winner. Might be a winner. We don't know, but otherwise, all other sectors, I don't see an immediate bouncing back for around 6 to 8 months. I mean, even after that, we have to be a little careful. But for now, around 6 to 8 months, it will be somewhat like a cooling time period, and then Dubai has to bounce back.
So with that said, are you looking to diversify your business in any way? Are you actively searching out new sectors that you can work in that you've not been involved in before?
Yes, we are. We don't, as we said, we don't have too many projects in these other sectors. So yes, we are branching out. Yes, we are looking for people who have domain knowledge, because one of the biggest thing is to have a domain knowledge in these sectors. And healthcare works a little differently than hospitality. Our domain knowledge with hospitality gave us an advantage in projects. So yes, we are looking at other sectors as well. There would be some requirement in terms of the corporate sector, mixed use developments in corporate sectors, but nothing as of now. It will still be only after the cooling down period. But yes, we are looking at alternate opportunities, alternate geographical locations where at least we can initiate a design, because the design phase itself takes around 6 to 8 months or 10 months by the time these things settle down and the construction can start. So we would like to use this slowdown period for more of design works than for the construction supervision works.
And would you agree with that, Jasper? Is the same for your company?
Well, I'm hoping that what we offer is specialization. I don't think that we want to diversify our competitors, but we are all quite different, actually. Organization which will obviously suit certain types of projects, and yes, I know they've got their IT, AV, acoustics capability and all the rest of it. InfoSight I have known of for a number of years because they are competitive to me in the hospitality market. We haven't collaborated. I have resisted collaboration other than when I've needed to bring on something like security or acoustics, where I have 2 or 3 companies that I work with to if we need to do a bid that includes all those things. Sometimes I think the fact that we are AV IT only works against us. Sometimes I think it works for us. I think that I don't want to expand to bring on new disciplines in a time of what might be hard times coming forward. I'd rather specialize, be more proactive in going out and getting business, which is something that we've never particularly done. We've allowed business to drift in our direction, which we've been successful that way in 10 years. But I think now is probably the time to say, okay, let's look at these areas where we're strong, look at the type of project, see what's out there, start to focus on them a bit more, wave our flag a bit harder. I'm not anti-collaboration. We have had international companies want to come in and join forces with us, and had that happen 2 or 3 times over the last few years, but we've stood back. We do have an association with one UK consulting firm, but they are very, very specialist in a very, very certain area, and they are active internationally, and I have a 35-year history with them. So in terms of their work here, we provide a sort of a support role to them in their very specialist AV IT control field that they work. The future, I don't know. I think we're going to have to be nimble and move where the opportunities are, rather than sort of stick to your guns. This is what we do, and I think everyone at this table recognises that.
That's true.
Thank you, Jasper. 2 very different answers there. So, Ranjit, how does your perspective fit into that?
Actually, not because of the COVID, but before itself, we diversified into other field, because to get cash more easily, we moved to cinemas. We work with movie cinemas, we work with walk cinemas, we work with real cinemas. So those are very fast-moving projects. They finish in 4 months and we will get the money. So when the Saudi market also opened for movies, so we started moving to Saudi and getting all the movie projects. So that was a quick money for our company. Other projects, they take 1 year or 1.5 years to finish the project and get the money. These are very quick projects which we get money within 4 months or 3 months. They finish the work, because they are also in a hurry to open the cinema theaters, mainly in Saudi Arabia, because a lot of movies are coming up in Saudi. So we moved to that segment suddenly 1 year back, and now we are one of our team is doing only movies, only theaters. They do a brand called MUVA, movie, walks, reel, and Cinema City. There are 4 or 5 different companies which are doing theaters only. So that is a way we changed to get more when the projects were less, bigger projects were less. But now it is a routine for us now.
Yeah, but that plan hasn't changed because of the lockdown. That you're just continuing on the path that you were already working on.
It has not been changed, but it is slowed down, because if you consider one company movie, they had around 50, 60 theater plans. One theater will contain around 8 to 18 auditoriums. So the third stage of their all the theaters were put into hold. But now they are slowly coming back. They are slowly coming to site, and people started working at the site. So it slowly started coming back in Saudi.
I think it's fair to say that Saudi is the next big opportunity for AV.
Yeah, that's true.
IT.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And particularly when you start to look at things like the bits that they're opening up, which are the performance type venues, the auditoria, the live arena, this type of thing, I think is going to present an opportunity.
But this is also presumably. This is also with the sectors that have the biggest question mark over their future in terms of social distancing and things like that. So do you still feel that they show the most promise, do you?
Well, I don't think we're going to be in permanent social distancing.
Correct. Anyway, it will come back.
I think we might be slightly different in the fact that we don't necessarily automatically shake everybody's hand that we meet type thing. But I don't think that we've seen the end to concerts, or the end to going to the cinema, or the end to sitting in a food court and a shopping mall. I think all these things are going to come back. People have to live their lives. We're not designed to be so socially distant. I just can't see it progressing. I think people will want to take the risk ultimately, and it's bad. It's bad for business worldwide. Everyone's suffering. I can't imagine what it would be like to be in certain market sectors. It's astonishing.
All of the
I just don't think it's going to go on forever. And I think a country like Saudi, that has a very young population, that has has an appetite for the types of events that are going on around them geographically, that are now possibly coming to them. I think there's going to be a real political will for these things to go forward. they'll do it in their own way anyway. They'll do it with some degree of separation anyway, segregation along, gender lines. So they'll maybe designs will adapt to suit these things. Maybe architects will come up with clever ways or think about different exits to entries and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. But I don't think that means an end to the type of venue that Saudi hasn't had to date, but I think they're looking for. The problem we have in the region is expertise. Finding contractors to go and do a complex sound reinforcement system in an arena and do it well is hard. There's been a bit of a shakedown in the contractors here as well. People have swapped from one company to another, and the people that were good in one company are no longer there. Some companies have shut up shop and then reopened. So there's been a lot of change over the last couple of years, nothing to do with COVID. And in the rest of the world, you've got a sort of a hinterland of freelancers that these contractors can pull upon to execute projects. That's less so here. So there might be a different way of looking at how projects are done in the future as well, in terms of maybe teaming up with different types of organisations to execute them, or to supply technical staff. I always have a big concern when I do a theatre project and the client wants a complex theatre arrangement. Who's going to operate it? Because I know historically what happens is that the janitor was walking past the door at the wrong time and got beckoned into the room and became the AV technician. Happens a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
We know it's true. That's true.
So, education is another thing that's massively important to all aspects of the business. How are you all personally staying up to date with developments yourself in education? With all of the local trade shows got cancelled recently. We can't attend in-person product launches. How are you staying on top of developments, Suresh?
I believe we have more webinars than what
that's true.
meeting that I attended earlier. I have attended almost a webinar or a session with all the manufacturers that I've been working on the last 1 month. So I'm not losing on anything. I'm actually catching up with all the things that I could not attend earlier because of the busy schedule and not be able to attend conferences and other things because of project meetings. So for technology, yes, we are catching up and we are not losing on anything at all during these days.
Well, I know lots of people as well. When we found ourselves locked in, there was a sudden rush to join in webinars and things like this.
Yeah.
Is your enthusiasm waning for that though as the weeks go by, or are you still finding that you're actively immersing yourself in that side of the industry?
And there are manufacturers who are doing it every week, and we have to tell them that, Chief, I attended your seminar last week. I cannot because I have other works to do. I have office work also to finish. So fine, yeah.
So, Gerard, from a manufacturer's perspective here, you've lost that physical in-person link. You can't drag someone to your booth at a trade show to take them through all of the ins and outs of this. So, how are you supporting Ranjit, Suresh, and Jasper in staying informed with new products and new technologies?
So, from a Shure's perspective, as a manufacturer, we are conducting webinars on a weekly basis. As you know, Shure has 3 verticals. So you have the MCA, the systems, and the Pro. So we have webinars for these 3 applications, and we get a mixed attendance of people from consultants to system integrators and to end users as well to attend these webinars. This is one of the initiatives that we're doing to educate the market and keep them abreast of the latest technologies that we have. Other than that, this is also an initiative that we have put together to have a roundtable discussion for the consultants in this region to get a perspective of how the future of AV, in what direction it is moving, and how we can all benefit and reshape our thinking in the way we work in this current situation moving forward. We also, as part of the initiative, what we're doing is also doing focused discussions to the end users as well. So giving them an update on our technologies to the IT team, be it education. So education is something we are focusing on. Um, Collaboration is the key right now. For people who attended or didn't attend ISE, we introduced the first IntelliMix room, the first audio processing software, which is fully optimized for our conferencing microphones. So very simply to deploy into Windows 10 PCs. So this is some of the technologies that we are focusing on, especially for the soft codec VC rooms.
Lovely, thank you, Gerard. And are you getting lots of requests from your clients for new features and functionality? Specific new products related to the fact that we're all stuck at home at the moment, but we want to raise the level of production that we're doing.
Yeah, so we have also the Motive series of microphones, like the MB5 and the MB51. So these microphones are basically designed, they're highly portable plug-and-play microphones, with direct connection to any iOS, Mac, or Android device or to a PC. Easy to use, they are very streamlined in operation, and they do offer high quality audio performance that our customers have come to expect from our microphones.
And yeah. Our participants here, how important is the quality of audio video to the meetings that you have? Is it simply about understanding what somebody says, being able to read some emotion on your face, or do you think the implications of a good quality discussion, great audio, well lit, good quality, or do you think that really adds a lot of extra value to your communications? Jasper?
Start with me because I'm sitting like a silhouette. So obviously I've not got my lighting right. Which is why it's going to sound ironic when I say I think it's essential. The audio and video performance is utterly essential to have an enjoyable meeting. I can't think of anything more frustrating than trying to have a telephone call or a video conference where things keep breaking down or it doesn't work. There's nothing more frustrating than that to me at all. And if that doesn't apply to our clients as well, then there's no point us doing what we do. We're trying to push for people to spend money for the right solutions for good reasons, not just because we're trying to make a buck out of it. That's the side effect, if you like. I do feel that we are trying to make a difference.
But of course, sometimes your job as a consultant is to interpret what the client's trying to do. So they know what they want to achieve, but maybe they're not fully versed in the technologies available or how it could be done.
They very rarely have full knowledge of what they want, and sometimes they don't know what they want. Sometimes they don't know what's out there. Much as we don't sometimes when we embark on something. And it might be, it's related to our industry, we have to go and research it. And we have to do that work for them and have the advantage that we know more about them than somebody else or themselves. And I don't want it to mean that, the person that knows 1% more than anybody else is the expert in the room. Obviously, we have to come armed with good knowledge and experience. But yes, our role is to guide them to the right solution against whatever their criteria is: performance, cost, longevity, future-proof, whatever. But on the basic subject of quality, if quality is not involved, personally, I'm not interested. I don't want to be involved in the rubbish end of the market. I'd rather be towards the mid to upper end of the triangle than the rubbishy bit at the bottom.
But the tools to do this exist. So how do we perpetuate that message?
Can you ask someone else that one?
Yeah, Suresh. How do you convince your clients that what you feel is important should be important to them?
Okay, let me put it around a different way. I mean, first of all, yeah, I do agree that the quality of sound is essential. Yes, I do agree, and it's with us as consultants to recommend the right product and right solution. Yeah, The clients don't come to you with a component level requirement. They come to you with a functional requirement. Yeah, I have a meeting room, the maximum 12 packs, and the utility is collaboration within office space or external clients coming and presenting, or it could be a corporate office connecting to the remote area. So they don't come and tell you that which DSP to use, or if you want to go for a ceiling microphone or if you want to go for ABC microphone. It's for the consultants to decide, opt, and then convey it in a right way. So if as consultants, if you present the right solution, yes, I'm not saying it's a cakewalk with the client. No, it's not. There could be client reps and the technical team from the client side who would be arguing or trying to understand and trying to cross-question your designs, that you have to do some explanation there. But more or less what we have seen from the client's side representatives are that you have to educate them on the tangible difference that can be identified with these different solutions available. And you also have to explain to them in a way that all these things are revenue generating options. I mean, if you don't have a effective meeting because you have a voice break, they look at the amount of people, time, resources invested in that meeting room who can't take a decision. I mean, instead of getting onto the equipment cost and comparing that with another equipment cost, look at the price of the people who are sitting there, take their hourly cost and see, because they could not take a decision or come on to a conclusion just because we did not have a proper voice, and we could not interpret and identify what the other guy said. So the valuation and the convincing that you have to do has many parameters. So, I mean, it's basically our role that how do we do that?
So have you, for instance, been suggesting that lots of people invest in just professional microphones, maybe a simple light source at home to lift the quality of their video calls?
Of course. And before I joined this session, I was another session with one of my projects in India. It's a hotel project. And because of the COVID, the client wants to remove everything from the AV and decide that we will do it at a later stage. But I had to do a lot of convincing, the same stuff, that we proceed with the design. And when you're running a hotel, your meeting rooms and ballrooms bring you money. And you won't get that money if they know that your system doesn't work to their satisfaction. So it is like you're chopping off something which gives you a paid interest later on. If you don't do that now, you won't get paid later on. So I mean, all these convincing that you have to do with respect to the solution that you're choosing, Dante or the conventional analog was another discussion. But we had to explain it to them that you're not building a project which will go for an upgrade after 2 years. You are building a project which will not go for an upgrade for almost 5 or 10 years. So we have to look for solutions which are market driven, which will be there, which are not end of life, which can be used to generate more revenue for whoever is investing. So that convincing has to be done by us as consultants.
I'll just put that to Ranjit as well. Would you agree with what Suresh said there?
Yeah, that's true. It's our responsibility to convince the client if there are items which is required to improve the quality of the audio or to improve the quality of the video for their boardrooms and conference rooms. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both Suresh and Jasper. Yeah.
But, do you find... sorry, please go ahead, Jasper.
I was going to say, I think there's another important aspect, and obviously I'm the worst example of it, because our job is it's beyond the AV. It's about the environment that it's in as well. I'm sitting here with this window behind me, and nobody can see it very well, and so I'm not following my own advice here. But our job is to walk into a room where a client is having a problem with a projection screen because he can't see it properly because he's only got a 5,000 lumen projector. Our job is to say, get a blackout curtain, not spend 100,000 dirhams on a 25,000 lumen projector to try and counteract the sun.
Yes.
So, we have to look at other things in the whole perspective of what we're offering. So it's the overall knowledge and experience that we're giving them on we've seen this before. The solution is not a 100,000 dirham spend, it's a 3,000 dirham spend on a blackout blind, and the problem's solved.
Yeah, but a good spend rather than a bad spend.
Yeah, so
okay.
I need to spend 3,000 dirhams. Yeah.
Oh, he blocked it out for a second.
Move on.
Okay, so and let's conclude the roundtable discussion there. I mean, we've highlighted here we've all had to make major shifts, but I think the takeaway of this should be, in a general sense, our business isn't going anywhere. It all needs to be done, and perhaps it just has to be navigated a slightly different way. So I'd like to thank you once again, Suresh, Ranjit, Jasper, and Gerard, for joining me. Thank you for the very interesting conversation.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you for my side as well.
Thank you.
It was
great to
look
attend this.
forward now. Oh, we'll all talk over each other at the end. I very much look forward to talking to all of you over the next couple of weeks about projects that have sprung up and ways that you're working differently to continue on from this conversation.
Sure.
Sure.
Thanks very much, Simon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gerald.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Hi, Joyce.
It was a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
Yeah. Thank you, Jasper. Thank you, Suresh.
Lovely. Thank you.